Hello guys. In this video, let us see how to perform database migration service. That is, I want to migrate a database from on-premise data center to AWS cloud. So let us see how to do it by using lab. Let's say I'm having either SQL Server or Oracle database in my on-premise. Now I want to migrate this database to AWS. So how do I migrate? I want to migrate to any one of the database service. So how many database services I have in AWS? I have multiple database services. Based on my need, I need to choose any one of them, right? Yeah. So let's say I want to use Aurora. I want to move my SQL server to Aurora database, or you can choose any one of the database endpoint, and you can able to migrate your database from your on-premise to AWS cloud. So for that, what service you use? What is the service that you use to transmit or to migrate your data from on-premise to AWS? You use DMS service. So by using this DMS service, you can able to database migration service, you can able to migrate your data from your on-premise to AWS cloud, right? Yeah. So in this DMS service, what are the things that you need to specify in order to migrate your data from your on-premise database to AWS? So let's see by theoretical as well as in practical as well. So in order to migrate, you need to specify source endpoint as well as destination endpoint, right? Yes, we need to specify the source endpoint as well as destination endpoint. You can see the source endpoints will be like an IP address. Actually, your IP address will look like this. So whenever you're running your database servers on your on-premise also, you got some IP address. On that IP address only, your databases will run. So you need to provide that as your source IP address, source endpoint IP address. This is nothing but, so by specifying this DMS can able to identify this is my source, this is my database source IP address, this is my database source endpoint IP address. And let's come to destination. What is that? You want to move to either Aurora or any one of the database service. So we need to, in order to identify the destination, we need to specify destination endpoint also, right? Yes, we need to specify destination endpoint also. So in order to specify that, we have an option. What is that? So you can see under the lab, you have endpoint identifier. In both source as well as destination endpoints creating. So while creating the source endpoint or destination endpoint creating, you need to specify this endpoint identifier. So coming to source, this is your endpoint identifier that you need to specify. Whereas coming to destination, you just select whatever the database endpoint you want. Database endpoint, you want to migrate your data, right? Yeah. So in order to perform migration from your source to destination, first you need to configure source endpoint as well as destination endpoint. Yes, we need to configure both source endpoint and destination endpoint. So in between, you also have replication instances. So when you open management console of this, you can see an option called replication instances. In these replication instances, actually you replicate your data from your on-premise to AWS. So once you're replicating your data from AWS to, on-premise to this AWS, your data will be stored under these replicating instances. So in between, while migrating, your data is first replicated to replication instances, replicate instances. Then after that, your data is migrated to where your endpoint, what are the endpoint that you specified. So let us see replication instances. So I'm copying it. Yeah. So while configuring from where to where, how your data is migrated, first your data is migrated from your on-premise, to where? Your on-premise server endpoint to source endpoint to replication instances. Then from here, your data will be migrated to whatever the destination that you specified, right? Yeah. So in order to perform this migration by using database migration service, you need to specify this. So you need to create the source endpoint. You need to create this destination endpoint. You need to create this replication instances, and then only you can able to perform this migration. So by using what we can able to, by using what option we can able to perform this migration is, you have an option. I'll show you directly from lab. You have an option called database migration task. You can see this? Yes. So by using this database migration task, you can create a task. So by using, so in order to perform all these things, you need to configure database migration task. So when you configure this database migration task, then your data is migrated from your on-premise, to AWS database service. So after creating this and running this, you can, your migration task will be done. So let us see how the console will be and how to provide these details as well. So for that, I opened my database migration. I opened my AWS console and I already logged into it. So whenever you first log into it, it opens you AWS dashboard. So that will be look like this. You can see it is loading. Yeah. So under the services, you just click on DMS or database migration service. Database migration service. You can see the option. Yes, just click on it. So now you can see it opens the dashboard. So under this, you can see migrate data. Under this option, you can see what are the options that are available. You can see endpoints. You can see replication instances. So in order to migrate, you first need to create what? Source endpoint, destination endpoints, and replication instances. These source endpoints or destination endpoints are created under this endpoints only, whereas your replication instances are created under this replication instances. So in order to perform, after creating all these, in order to perform migration task, you need to use this database migration task. So let us see how the endpoints will be, how can I able to provide this. So you can see, I'm expecting to provide the source endpoint. So for this, you need to open this source endpoints and click on create endpoints. From here itself, you can provide the source endpoint, and then you can able to provide the IP address of it. So I'm having my source endpoint IP address like this. What is that? 192.168.1.100. So that I want to provide here 192.168.1.100. You can see how the endpoints of your databases will be. So in the previous Neptune, how to create Amazon Neptune video, Amazon Neptune database and Neptune cluster on console video. So I have already shown you how to create your database. So there you can see the cluster endpoint will be look like and like this. So in this way only your on-premise endpoint will be, you need to provide endpoint, not IP address. So while providing the endpoint, do need to take care, because it's not an IP address. It's the endpoint of your database. So if you provide this IP address, it will show you like this error. So you need to provide some endpoint like that. We just seen right now, right? Yeah. So like that, we need to provide an endpoint. You can see here, the endpoint will look like this. So after creating your database on your on-premises, or after creating your database on your AWS cloud, you can see the endpoint like this. You just need to take this endpoint and just copy paste it so that you can able to create this endpoint configuration. So like this, you can able to create endpoint configuration for source endpoint as well as target endpoint. So like this, you need to provide endpoints and then you need to choose whatever the engine that you want to migrate to. So let's say I want to migrate to Amazon Aurora MySQL. So you can see different databases are also available based on your need and what are the database that you used on your on-premise. You need to select the suitable target and then click on create endpoint. That's it. It will create you endpoint. So based on your source specified and the endpoint identifier that you specified. So like this, you need to create by specifying both the endpoint identifier and source engine. You need to create source endpoint and this target endpoint. So after this, you need to create a replication instance. So why this replication instance is used? In order to replicate your database from your on-premise to AWS. So in this replication instance only, your database first will be saved. So it's nothing but simply like an instance only. So let us see how to create it. So first click on create replication instance. You can see it is asking for us name. You need to provide some name and some optional description. If you want, you can able to provide or no need. You can see the instance configuration. So what is the instance configuration? What about instance type? Or what about the engine that you want to run? And if you want to provide high availability for this instance or not, that is a production workload. This is a single availability zone instance or multi availability zone instance. If you use single availability zone instance, then it is mostly preferred for development as well as testing workloads. You need to prefer this multi availability zone instance type when you are preferring for production workloads. Then you need to provide some storage space, right? Yes, you need to allocate here under the storage session. So under the connectivity and security, you need to provide under which VPC, under which subnet, under which availability zone you want to put this replication instance. And then click on create instance so that your replication instance will be created. So in this way, you need to create the replication instance. So now we successfully created source endpoint as well as destination endpoint as well as our replication instance. So now what the leftover thing? Migration. We need to migrate our database from our on-premise to AWS. That's it. So for that, you click on database migration task. So for this lab purpose, I'm not creating anything, but I'm providing you the details regarding how to create and how to do the task. So just click on create database migration task. So here you need to provide the migration task name. So here you concentrate more on this replication instance. So whatever the replication instance that you created previously here that you need to provide in this place, and you need to provide source database endpoint. So what are the source database endpoint that you created that you need to provide here, and target database endpoint also you need to provide here, and migrate existing data and replicate ongoing changes or replicate data changes only. So based on your need, your migration type, you need to select among these. That's it. Even you don't even need to change the data and you just click on create so that your task will be created. Then you can able to run the task. So you can see here, if you want to drop your target tables data, then you click here so that your target table data will be dropped and whatever the new data that you just migrating from your source will be stored under your target. If you don't want to do anything, then click on don't want to do anything. And you have many options like You can see it also provides you encryption. You can see migration task startup. So like this, many options are available to you under this. Even you want, you can able to use them as well. So in this way, at last you can click on create task so that your task will be created and those will be visible under this session. After that, you can able to click on actions. Then you can able to run the task so that your data is migrated from endpoints that you specified. That is from source endpoint to destination endpoint. And while creating the endpoints, you can have also ability to specify security, that is encryption, by using which key you want to encrypt. That also you can able to specify here. If you want encryption for your data, then you can choose this so that your data will be encrypted. So like this is the way how to migrate your data from your on-premise to AWS cloud by using DMS, database migration service. And what are the things, what are the endpoints that you need to create, what are the replication instances that you need to create, and how to migrate by using a database migration task. I hope you understood all these things in detail by using AWS management console. So I hope this video is contentful on how to migrate your database from your on-premise to AWS cloud database migration service. If you feel this video is contentful, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching again. See you back in the next video with another interesting topic. Until then, bye bye, guys.